Today we're talking about our Feminist Digital Methods conference and events, call for papers that we're organizing for the Center for Feminist Research at York University. The events are going to begin in May, and we hope to have at least monthly events through May, June, July. And then the conference will be August 11th through 13th. So yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah. So I guess we'll say a little bit about each other, ourselves now.
Sure thing. Yeah. So I'm Sarah York-Bertram. I'm a PhD candidate at York University and a project lead for a transnational feminist digital project tracking responses to a traveling exhibit about girls in war. So that's part of my more recent work. I have 15 years experience working in feminist methods and methodologies and 11 years experience in feminist digital methods projects. So I bring quite a bit of experience with me, but I'm also learning because this field is constantly changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and I'm Jessica DeWitt, and I got my PhD in history in 2019, so 3 years ago, from the University of Saskatchewan, and I'm an environmental historian, and I am self-employed, and I market myself as a digital strategist and editor, researcher, writer. I wear a lot of different hats professionally. Probably what I'm most well known for is being a social media editor and co-editor-in-chief for the Network in Canadian History and Environment, which is the main environmental history organization in Canada. And I've been the social media editor for them for, oh gosh, what year is it? Oh, 8 years. 8 years this month.
Wow.
Which is, yeah. Yeah. So my experience with feminist digital methods is kind of bringing in these methods into a space where they weren't being used at all 8 years ago, and really being intentional in the way that I move in digital spaces and I support environmental history and humanities scholarship. And that has branched out to other aspects of my career, and has led to a lot of opportunities. One of the reasons I was able to become self-employed is because I focused on learning digital communications and methods skills. And I don't think it's valued enough, particularly in humanities spaces. So, yeah. And we met 11 years ago.
I know. How? Even. I know, 11 years ago, and we've been DMing constantly ever since.
Yes.
Constant communication, and yeah, even though we live far apart, it's like we're always in touch. So it's so exciting to be able to coordinate something like this. And also we need to give a shout out to our earring maker. These are Fast Ghost earrings.
Yeah, shout out to Candace.
Shout out to Candace. Yeah, we'll have to let Candace know that we've wrapped her on here. So
and this is the sun, and you have the moon version, right? So
yes, Jessica bought these for me as a gift, and I'm super stoked to wear them today. They're so nice. So should I move into kind of a bit of background about how this is coming together, how it started to come together?
Sure.
Okay, so In August of 2021, Dr. Andy Schwartz, who is the Center for Feminist Research Coordinator now, with Sarah Reddick-Kopp, who is a York University PhD candidate, organized a successful open access conference, which I attended and was just really pleased with and had a great time at. And then also in October, Zaming Sim, a York University PhD candidate, and Denise Challenger, who is the coordinator of the Network for the Advancement of Black Communities, as well as a York PhD candidate and digital humanities practitioner. Together with me and Andrea Gonzalez, who is also a York master's student, we collaborated with the York University Library's Digital Scholarship Center to host workshops during York's Open Access Week. So we worked with librarians Chris Joseph and Anna St. Ange at the Digital Scholarship Center to host these open access workshops that were focused on night labs, free tools, as well as the Alliance for Networking Visual Cultures Scalar project, Scalar platform. So in those experiences of doing kind of the open access virtual events, we decided to start having conversations based on some of our experiences working in virtual projects and events and that sort of thing. We decided in fall 2021 to start having conversations about the idea of hosting some events on feminist digital methods specifically. So Dr. Schwartz, who's the Center for Feminist Research Coordinator, who has previous experience with conferences, virtual conferences, is a contemporary of mine in the Gender Feminist and Women's Studies graduate program. So both she and I could kind of talk about something we've noticed around digital methods, feminist digital methods, which was that there's like a pretty big gap in kind of community, as well as just support for these sorts of projects and spaces for dialoguing about our projects and methods. So Dr. Schwartz agreed that our community at York and beyond would benefit from an event or several events on feminist digital methods. And we proposed the idea to the director of the Center for Feminist Research, which is currently Dr. Elaine Coburn. And then the Center for Feminist Research signed on to host and support the events. And Jessica, Dr. DeWitt, came on board as well. And so you and I have been meeting basically every week since the fall in the process of trying to organize these events and conference. And then we conducted preliminary research on the topic and compiled bibliographies, which are available on Google Drive if anyone wants to take a look. And Andrea Gonzalez also contributed a bibliography to our research as well. And we agreed our next step would be to have an informal chat and potentially with potentially interested colleagues. So we went ahead and did that in December. Then Omicron came and everything became kind of like, what's going to happen? So the process of beginning to organize stuff was a lot slower, and when we had our initial consultations with our network in December, it was already kind of at the forefront of our minds, thinking about sustainability, capacity. A lot of us are disabled or chronically ill, and the pandemic adds another element of uncertainty as well. So we're moving forward with all of that kind of context in mind. I think maybe now that I've kind of mentioned some of the background, I'm wondering, Jess, do you want to talk a bit about the vision for these events?
Sure. So I think what you're talking about kind of alludes to a kind of flexibility in our thoughts, and we're thinking of a multi-platform event that can kind of work to fit the needs of the presenters that we receive proposals from. So suiting topics and events and figuring out what the best way to do that is. And one of the things that we're really hoping to do is, or planning to do, is to have a YouTube channel for this specific conference where legacy content will be held. So we're hoping that presenters, they'll be given the option. So if they just want to present at the event and don't want to have their recording of their presentation saved in this legacy content, that's completely okay. And, it's not a prerequisite. But those who are willing, we're hoping to have all of these things on YouTube so that they're available, and really emphasizing the open access part. So it's not just for people who are able to present and attend, but also people who are going to just stumble upon this content in the years to come, right? And we really want to create a space where we can reserve time to develop a community of practice around feminist digital methods. And I think the community and networking and space is really pivotal to the idea of this conference, and that knowing people and having strong connections and networks is so pivotal to the success and the vibrance of this work and the individuals involved. So we're hoping that this conference will lend to that.
Yes, and I wanted to as well give a shout out to Indigenous librarian Sheila LaRocque, based at the University of Saskatchewan, because Sheila is the one who suggested legacy content. As a librarian who supports undergraduate students and some graduate students as well, Sheila knows that there is also a gap around just, being able to point people toward resources for feminist digital methods and methodologies. And so Sheila was part of our network that we consulted, and one of the comments that she had made was, it'd be fantastic if there was some legacy content that librarians and other feminist digital methods practitioners could turn to or point towards for resourcing emergent scholars, and even in courses, there are methods and methodologies courses as well that can benefit from these materials. That said, in working with some of the folks that are interested in putting on workshops and that sort of thing, we are, like you said, really conscious of security issues. Some people cannot have their stuff on the internet for everyone to see. It's just not safe. And B, intellectual property and labor. So, for example, one of the people that I'm working with right now around developing a workshop is really mindful of the fact that she's an early career scholar, and she may want to use this workshop again for her own career. So there's those sorts of things to be considering as well. So we think that these these events are an opportunity for scholars to do what they, think is most beneficial for them. So if they don't want to sign on to legacy content, that's okay. But it's also an opportunity for them to maybe develop some content that is reusable for their own career in the future as well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to start or mention, we've blasted all over the internet as much as we can. There's still more to do, obviously. But the proposals and call for proposals and volunteers are in the works right now. So we're accepting proposals for events, and we've already received a few incredible proposals. So there's definitely an interest, and the topics are super, super interesting as well. So if you would like to be considered for an event that precedes the conference in August, we ask that you submit a proposal for an event, which could be, a roundtable discussion, a workshop, those sorts of things that are more kind of a collective type of event that's about facilitating a community of practice. The deadline for those events proposals is this month, April 30th. So if you're interested, that's the deadline that we're shooting for is April 30th, so that we can organize all of the events that we hope to organize for the preceding the conference. And then the proposals for the virtual conference are due June 15th. So there's still more time with that one to think through. So we're imagining the conference as being a place where there can be the sort of more typical individual paper presentations, but also workshops and project showcases especially. We're really excited about the idea of giving space for emergent scholars especially, but also established scholars, space to showcase their projects, because there are so many interesting projects, and showcasing also is generative of ideas and community. So we're excited about that idea as well. So you can see the link to our for our call on both Jessica and my Instagram profiles. I think, Jess, is it in your bio too?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So reach out to us if you're interested in being involved with organizing the events or the conference. We're looking for members for our fundraising committee too, because we want to pay our workshop runners and keynotes for their labor. So we are going to be doing fundraising as well, and we're going to need folks for that too. Jess, do you want to mention now sort of what's in the works potentially on your end for events, and then I can talk a little bit also about BIF2 Yusuf's potential workshops?
Sure. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm an environmental historian, and I've been working on feminist digital methods in the online spaces for a number of years now. So we're going to be, the plan is to have a roundtable that's going to be looking at environmental history and humanities networks and digital presence, and how this relates to intersectional feminism. So this is going to be sponsored by the Network in Canadian History and Environment, as well as Environmental History Now, which is an organization that's founded by Elizabeth Hamitman, who they only publish they publish early career scholars who are women, queer, gender expansive, non-binary folks. So basically they publish anyone who is not a cis male. That's the prerequisite. But it came about as a way to, environmental history is a very white male driven field. And this was a way to kind of showcase the work that is being done by individuals who are early in their career, who are not of that demographic. So they've really done a lot of work in the last 3 years to expand the reach of this work. So we're going to be co-sponsoring, and it's probably going to be a live stream on YouTube. And yeah, that's exciting.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that event. And what I also really like about some of the work that we're doing is the fact that it really does create space for co-sponsorships or partnerships and those sorts of things. And that's part of what is going on as well with some of my conversations with BIF2 Yusuf. So BIF2, I saw BIF2 do a presentation during, I guess it was last December 2021. BIF2 was part of a webinar discussing her work on a digital project, a transnational feminist digital project. So BIF2 is a certified in vivo specialist, and she works currently with Dr. Linda Peak, who's the principal investigator of the Gen Herb project that's based in York's City Institute, which is an organized research unit. For those who aren't familiar, York has a lot of different organized research units. One of the things that we like to do with this, with these events is, again, like I mentioned, the sort of partnership or co-sponsorship of creating spaces for partnerships between organized research units or other organizations. So BIF2 is in the process right now of developing a 3-day workshop on in vivo in connection with the Feminist Digital Methods events and conference. And for those of you who don't know, in vivo is a fairly well-known tool for qualitative analysis, but it's also becoming increasingly popular in industry. So we think that a lot of people will benefit from the material coming from this workshop. So the event will be a City Institute and Center for Feminist Research collaborative event. So that's in the works for potentially May or June. And then we had a Google form that we developed for consultations with our network on our ideas for Feminist Digital Methods events. And one of the things that came up often is interest in podcasts and podcasting. So that's another event that we're considering, or we're not quite sure. Like, it's possible that we could have that event in advance of the conference, or it could be a really important piece of the conference. So that's also in the works as well. And the librarian I mentioned, Sheila LaRock, is actually in talks with us right now, as she is part of a podcast called Book Women, which is a podcast with Métis women talking about books. And so we have, of course, several extremely brilliant contacts who are focused on podcasting as well. We've been in talks, or we have consulted, for example, with Dr. Jessica McDonald. Jessica, do you know the name of Dr. McDonald's podcast?
Yeah, it's Teaching Books Pod.
Yes, yes. So yeah, that's just a couple. There are many other podcasters that we're connected with as well. So we're excited about that idea too. Um, the next piece of the process as well, and very important to our network of practitioners, is developing agreements for conduct for the events as well. And I mean, straight out the gate, as soon as I reached out to one of my mentors, TL Cowan, who has a very brilliant career in digital feminist pedagogies, immediately TL said, "Sarah, will this be queer and trans feminist?" And I was like, yes. But we're mindful of the fact that that needs to be explicitly said. And so that's a very big part of what we want to put forward in our agreement for conduct for the events. So we're in the process of developing that as well.
Yes, we are. Yeah, so I think that's about it. You can find the proposal and all the links in our bios, and we'll probably be posting more things about the conference and reminding everyone about the deadlines and the usual things that you have to do in digital spaces to make sure that your voice is heard, or remind people to follow up on their actions and stuff. So
yes. Yes. So we are really stoked, and we may even do another live to keep you all posted about the developments as they come. But please submit a proposal if you're interested. We really want to have a good sense of the different interests as well. So please submit a proposal, and we will see you all probably on the internet again soon.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. Take care.
Thanks, Jess. Bye.
Bye.